County Commissioners meeting budget workshop for 2018. This is October 23rd.
Well, good morning. I believe it's time to do another budget. As in most years, we are starting out with a preliminary deficit when we've taken into account departmental revenue requests and our baseline expenditures, which are last year's, which is this year 2017's expenditures, adjusted for approved increases in salaries and benefits. So that leaves us negative $911,902, and this is net of a road shift decision or a substantial needs property tax decision. So when you compare it to last year, we started at $1,031,968 deficit. So we're about $100,000 better at this point than last year, net of the road shift and levy.
So this is without the road shift where?
Right. Which is last year $650,000, and last year's property tax levy was $82,000. So by comparison, we're starting in a similar place as 2017's budget. And obviously those decisions are the board's to make somewhere along the line. If you look at 1B, basically our operating revenues, which are net of our fund balance considerations, if you just look at the money we bring in and spend each year, we're $11,725 less total revenues, operating revenues than last year, but we're $300,000 higher in operating expenditures. So right there's $311,000 that we have to make up for last year's budget. And then for comparison purposes, I've added back the road shift and the property tax increase, which I've got 81,000 there, but it's actually 85. I found out this morning it's a little different. So that puts us at a budgeted use of fund balance technically if all the revenues and expenditures came in exactly of 1.576 million negative. Well, last year we budgeted technically $2 million, so that's actually favorable over last year.
So to get that deficit, how did you go about getting it this year?
Basically, it's departments submit their revenues, okay, and then we give them the same expenditures that they had for 2017.
So it's baseline.
It's baseline, and then we've got like the 2% COLA, anything that's approved in salaries that we leave in. And then
no additional capital or anything like
there's
that?
There's no request in it whatsoever. Okay. If you look at some of our major revenues under Section 2, our property taxes, $8.58 million. Last year, the property taxes did a road shift and levy was 8.1, so it actually increased, and I think due in large part to new construction. We've increased $400,000 over last year's property tax levy. When you add the road shift and substantial needs levy, if you look at the next two lines, we're actually $331,000 less. We would be less than last year in property taxes if those two items aren't re-added to the revenues. And then some other of our bigger revenues, sales taxes. The treasurers currently have them at $150,000 over last year to $4 million. And then I received some other sales taxes that were voter approved back in about 1990 for the 1995 bonds. $128,000 increase. Our 0.3% criminal justice fund sales tax levy that we use to build the jail, justice center, and operate it. We're estimating at $222,000 higher than 2017. Board and room is Pasco lodging in the jail is the same. And then our beginning fund balance, we've gone down currently to $2.8 million from 3.4 million last year, which was too high. So the memo total, just our major revenues were minus $430,000, which in large part was because of the fund balance estimate. But the sales taxes are encouraging, that's for sure. If you look at our number 3 baseline expenditure changes, obviously salaries and benefits are our highest, or our biggest percentage of our costs, and we're estimating that the total increase right now, and I believe Carly can correct me, I think everybody's settled union-wise, etc., and we're sort of expecting about a $650,000 increase.
No, we have a couple groups that are not settled for 2018.
Okay. Well, this is where we're at currently. I guess the number could probably only go up. That does include the COLAs and associated increases in like Social Security and retirement, et cetera. And it includes potential step increases that people are eligible for. 3B, our contingencies are currently in the baseline the same as 2017. As far as requests this year, Mr. Merrill, you were asking about that. Right now there's 1.448 million in requests. Not really too many in personnel services, 134,000, a miscellaneous of 910, and then capital of 403. If you look at the far right column, there were last year's request for almost $5 million, and I don't have a breakdown of what was approved. That 315,000 was approved in capital. And then 5 is just our miscellaneous funds total, 58,748,000 this year, and this includes like county road and treasurer, O&M, audit O&M, just all our miscellaneous other funds, which we balance separately from current expense, obviously. And so it's 18 million over last year.
Where's that number come from? Where's that number?
I think the biggest increase was we put a $50 million number in for like jail remediation and repair, construction. I'm not sure what you want to call it, but yeah, is that right? Okay, yeah. So that would be. Otherwise, it would. That's a good question. So that's where we're starting out. Obviously, got some work to do.
Yeah. Yes. All right. That get us started.
I guess the first one we have up is the assessor's office. Let us know how assessments are going.
Preliminary budget discussion. There will be no decisions finally made until the budget is passed sometime in late November, early December. So we could go to the end of December, I guess, legally.
Yeah, as far as I understand. Not our goal.
Morning, Steve.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Great, thanks.
Good. Welcome to Monday, huh?
Yeah.
First thing in the morning I get, and it's a Monday on top of it, so it ought to go real well.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, really. So you have in front of you, I'm sure, the requests that we are making, which are, we're really not making any requests. The bottom line of our budget proposal for 2018 is the same as it was for 2017. I am asking to make a couple of modifications in the budget on the line for 4901 dues and subscriptions. I'd like to reduce that $2,200 and just basically move that money around to 3 other lines. So reducing 4901 from $3,700 down to $1,500, and then taking that $2,200 and moving $1,000 of it into repairs and maintenance for vehicles, and the other $1,000 into travel, and then the $200 just moving it up into the supplies line. So that's my requests for 2018. There is one other request that I am making. It's not specific in my budget because it's software related, and that is, Kevin will have it in his budget. In, I think it's the 4816 budget line, maintenance agreements. Excuse me, I think that's the number that he gave me. Anyway, it's a piece of software that we'd like to be able to purchase. It's called Spatialist. It does multiple regression analysis, helps in valuing properties. There is a 1 year cost, or first year cost is $27,000, and then after that it runs $12,000 per year. The first year is, there's bringing it in, setting it up, training, implementing it. And so it is in Kevin's budget. The question could be is why do we need it? Well, I mean, we all know we are the fastest growing county in the state of Washington. We have been, and we've got a lot more housetops that we have to value, and we have not asked for any more staff to try to accomplish that. We're like everybody else, we'd like to have more people, but we also know that the climate is not conducive to be able to, have more staff come on and be able to hire them. So we're looking at this piece of software and saying that we think that it can help us postpone out 2 to 3 years having to hire any additional staff or ask for any additional staff. So I'd like to encourage you to seriously consider placing that called Spatialist into the budget. And again, it's in the IS budget in their maintenance. I think it's the maintenance agreements line. So, but I'll be up here on tomorrow. I think Kevin's in. I'll try to be in here in case there's any other questions on it during that time. So,
Yeah, he's in at 9 tomorrow morning.
So that's pretty much what I have to present to you.
But that will get you more rooftops.
Well, yeah, it'll help us in our equity, being equitable in our assessments. It just adds another tool in our tool bag to be able to help us value property. We're just looking at any kind of tool that we can get that will help us with our job and try to increase productivity with the staff that we have. The same product, it's called Spatialist, like I said, they have 4 different components of it, and just last week, the Benton County assessor, he proposed to the county to subscribe to all 4, and they were approved, so they're going to have the whole suite of tools available to them. We're just asking for one component of it. It'd be nice to have all 4 of it.
Piggyback.
Yeah, we might have to see if we can work out an agreement with them or something. So, yeah, so like I said, we're just trying to look at whatever we can that comes along that will help us increase productivity with the staff that we have, as well as being more equitable in the valuation of property. So, if you have any questions,
Questions?
If the board did not approve the software acquisition or software, does that mean you'd be asking for staff this year?
well,
I mean, is that
no, we didn't propose any staff. I mean, obviously, we didn't ask for anything. The reality is, I think probably in another year, we're going to be asking for somebody. I mean, when they're projecting 1,000 to 1,200 housetops going up there on, Road 68 and the whole DNR ground, all these houses just put more work on my staff. It's just another property we have to value. We don't value at one time. It's every year we have to value. Now, we don't have to inspect them every year, but it's just part of the process. We've got to inspect them, at some point in a 6-year rotation, as well as we have to, somebody has to be analyzing the sales and about, looking for, are we being equitable across the board with all properties? So, again, we're not projecting anybody for this for 18. I can about guarantee that in 19, we're going to be asking for somebody. And so this is just a way to help hopefully push that out beyond, maybe 20, 21. And again, it all is going to hinge on growth. I probably won't be here then, so somebody else is working.
Oh,
That answer your question?
Yes, sir.
How much was the new construction, Steve?
How much was it? The first for the county was $336,959. That's in addition, as well as the on top of the 1%, which you already stated, was $85,000.
Here's that.
So you can see the screen.
The one thing that we don't have yet is if there's any increase in the state utility value, which this time of year, we're always at that point because we don't have those values yet. We won't get them for probably another 2 weeks, roughly. So if there's an increase in those, there'll be a little bit of a bonus to the county. But again, we just never know from year to year until we get them in our hands what that will be. So, and it's never a significant amount of money. So, I mean, 400,000 or something. It's not that much.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Should have made a note on it. We have a new form this year. And last year we had supplemental, we grouped the departmental requests for consideration, like 1, 2s, and 3s on a different form or file. And now we put them all in, if it's red, basically they've asked for it, it hasn't been approved. If it's green, it was an internal transfer like he just mentioned. And since the board lets people overspend one line as long as it's found another line, we let people internally move it. And so those are the green items. The red means it's actually an increase request to the bottom line. The green is neutral to their bottom line.
And so it's ones that the board hasn't decided on.
Going back to this spreadsheet that we started with, you're not suggesting that the green items shown in green on the master spreadsheet are included in preliminary?
They would be netted out within the expenditures.
So they are included in the preliminary, but they're a net. They're either a net flat or decrease within departments.
Okay.
So if a department wanted to decrease.
I'm tracking now, thank you.
But I think there were some that were just decreases, right, and not, if they wanted to lower something, we let them. Yeah.
So the book itself will pretty much just include the attachments that the department sent in, but you can see all of that summarized in the long sheet in front of you, the legal sheets in front of you.
And there's also page numbers on it. And there's also on the very left-hand column, there's a number there which goes from 1 to 4,000 or something. So if we're trying to all find the same place, you say, well, it's line 2276, for example. So it's an Excel spreadsheet. A lot of the information we did extract out of new software, and it allows us to drop it in here. But there's still quite a bit of work we need to do to get our budget module up and running. I'm sure why we gave the assessor half an hour. I was basing our times on last year's lights.
And this told more jokes and stuff last year.
Yeah, Couldn't think of any good ones this year, so.
So when we're gonna find the next one on this page is we need to, how do we get the number?
Let's see, that's the treasurer, which would be,
Page 43.
Which way do we find it?
On that,
Over here?
no. On that one, you got, no? On the-
This one here, this one. Yeah, but where do you find 43? Just make it quick.
On the page.
on the bottom center.
Oh, I see that, but where did you find it was gonna be
I
43?
just look for
Okay, that's where I'm asking, yeah.
1650.
Right, no, that's the thing, because when it gets down to some of these, you gotta dig like this. Okay, so. But you went through from.
Yeah, or,
We could probably put together an index before we meet again.
well, there it is on,
Is that on the same page there? I think there may actually be one in the blank.
Number 23 is the treasurer's average.
Four.
There's an index right in front, online anyway.
23 on the.
Yeah, the bottom, we're talking about this easy sheet here, with the quick way of finding it. Bob, you come through it.
the totals.
And there's no directory yet for this.
I guess
is
I
all
thought
that.
they were in there. I guess until then we'll have to cooperate.
Oh, okay, actually here's,
Oh, it's fine, it's easy, once you just say where it is.
yes, it does. Actually, in tab 3, there's some page numbers listed in that correspond to the,
Oh, good.
should correspond to the sheets.
Exactly. See if it's correct.
Don't test me too much on that, though.
That's good. Is it 80 degrees in here yet, or is it just me? Yeah.
That email's got it on the sheets. I could have gone a little better. Is it the same file or is it a different like format?
Somebody destroyed the page number. It had it set in there, but then it's not in there anymore. I don't know why. Somebody changed it. I don't know.
Ready, boys?
So how would you like to do this?
Just give us your breakdown, if you would, and.
You start with the revenues and then move to your requests if you have any.
So we're just gonna go line by line?
Not necessarily, just your projections to start with, I guess, and see where we're at. And
If you have any updates to the numbers you've given us, maybe?
Pardon?
Like if you have any updates to the numbers that are on the sheet.
I do, for the property tax, I'm changing it to $8,585,942.
That is updated on the on the screen behind you. We didn't realize the 1% was in there originally. So that is updated on the board, but not on the sheets that are in front of you.
So is new construction in that too? You've got it building plan?
Yes, it is.
Just out of curiosity.
It's this minus 5226.
Oh, it's, okay, gotcha. Never mind. Because that's their call, so, gotcha. I just want to make sure. Is that correct? Yes, yeah. I just, my assumption is always they're going to take the 1%, but.
Yeah, and I have it, and I do have it in the request column, so if they want to add it.
Gotcha.
But until they decide.
Gotcha.
Can't see it.
Say that in the bottom, this first one, then this one has changed. Without
All right, thanks.
Okay, so we have the property tax. We changed that number. So does not include the 1%.
Correct.
The next one is the sales tax, the local retail and sales tax. I'm projecting that we are going to end up at $4 million this year. Your leasehold excise tax. This year has been the largest increase for this for the last 5 years, and for two reasons: agricultural land values have increased, and the port leases, and we've seen the port leases and the DNR leases have increased. Like on I-82, they've added some stores, PetSmart, and Delta West, and so I've increased that to $215,000.
Which number is that? Did you say?
It's the leasehold excise tax.
1315.
You increased it to,
So it was 171,000 budgeted in 2017, and now it increased to 250.
okay, so that's correct, okay. Okay, good.
So the local excise, the leasehold excise tax, excuse me, the excise the local real estate excise tax, where I'm going to increase that to. So this one's a different one. This one's a $61.
So there's two parts that make up the local excise tax portion of the county receives as far as fees. We get 1% on the local portion and then 1.3% on the state portion. When this was calculated in 2017, there was a about a $10,000 deposit that made its way into the local portion that was actually due in the 168 fund with remittance back from the state, and we used the same PARS numbers. We used one extra digit to categorize ours. And so overall, you'll see that the amount that was taken out of this line will be increased in the state portion. So it's just kind of a swapping to make for, to get the allocation correct for next year.
Okay, so we have a charter franchise, license for franchise fees. That's on a $15 million budget, we're just increasing $1,000. Department of Interior Bureau of Land Management, it's just, and increased it to $170,000, and it's stable and it just increases slightly on that line item. The next one is the PELT funding. So last year we received our monies in October and the balance in February. So going forward, we're still not sure what's going to happen with this PELT money. There's talk that maybe they're going to revalue the ground based on when the ground is taken. So we're still at the status on what what's going to happen with that money. So I've increased it to $720,000, hoping that we're going to get it, but still we're up in the air. Oh, I'm sorry, reduced to 90,000. I reduced that to 90,000 from 125,000.
That's a question there. We've not received any of the 125,000 yet this year.
We have not. So they were supposed to receive it in October with the balance of the February that we signed.
We see it will be on the state remit the last day of the month.
So the next one is the PUD privilege tax. Last year, it was a shutdown year, and we received $687,000 this year as our longest production year, which we received $765,000. So I'm estimating it to be about $720,000 for next year. So criminal justice. Collection for this year, we're estimating about $763,000. So for 2018, it's $704,000. Whatever we collect in the third and fourth quarter, this year we collect the same as first and second next year. So living tax is just a minor increase based on the collections, and it's $22,400. The liquor boards, it's $49,600. And our treasurer's fees.
Sure. Treasurer's fees is a small line. This is basically we charge for access to a DP site to get our tax file, and so this is utilized by the large escrow agencies for paying for multiple mortgage companies for taxes. So it's $400 for subscription. We're going up a little bit. We had another player enter the market, so we have one more person requesting file in 2018. Treasurer's excise fees. These are a portion again of fee that is broken out. This one is just a flat $2.50 fee that we get for each excise, and this is just for processing mostly ones that are exempt transactions, so inheritance-based transaction, people switching out marriage names and such, we get a small fee for running those. Our irrigation assessment, we charge Franklin County Irrigation District for presenting their statements and doing their billing and collection for them. And this is based off of the parcel count. It has additional parcels, so that amount's gone up. The state admin fee is 1.3%. This is the other line where you see that we've had the increase based on the reduction of the leasehold number 318-34000. So the local portion decreased, the state portion increased. Penalties and interest. We've budgeted down again this year. Our collection rate continues to improve in the good market. People are selling their homes rather than getting into foreclosure, being behind. One of the challenges with this line is open space removals. Essentially, when we have ground that's in use for ag ground, it's valued at a rate lower or taxed at a rate lower than, say, private family or single family. And so when someone either loses that exemption because they no longer qualify or the property is sold and someone else wants to pull out and develop it, we get basically the equivalent of 7 years worth of back taxes on that property, the difference between those two values. In 2018, there was a 20% portion that was a penalty. We believe from speaking with Steve, the assessor's office, that penalty is going to be going away. That accounted for about 40% of the penalties and interest that we got in mobilization removals. However, this one is just kind of a shooting star. We've had years where open space has had a very small impact on what we've had. We've had other years when ground up by the Snake River was moved from DNR and there was $200,000 that came from one transaction. So we typically don't budget the open space removals just based on their nature. If we get wind that we have one coming down the pipeline, we may do it, but it's not something we typically put in the budget. Next line down is penalty for failure to list personal property. This one's been pretty static. We've also seen a slight increase in collections. It's typically around $50,000 each year. This is actually a great one, the investment interest line. We budgeted last year $85,000, which actually included our investments that we had in residual cash or bonds as well as the state pool. Since we did that budget in December of 2016, the Fed actually started moving interest rates for the first time in like 9 years. So we saw 3 rate increases, and that had a very, very large impact on our returns. The state pool was paying around 0.3% at the beginning of that cycle, and we ended up right now it's at 1.1%. And we're looking at a potential rate increase again for December of this year, which we'll also know about as well. So those short-term interest rates directly impact the returns that we've seen in the state pool. We're expecting a pretty sizable jump in interest collections for next year. Long since the days of $600,000 or $700,000, but going from $80,000 to nearly $200,000 when we are to be over $200,000, we combine that interest line with the next line, which represents our bond holdings. The third piece there, the interest service fees from banks. What this line is here, this $14,500. We do get a 5 basis point payment basically for each fund that we invest off of their interest. So we get 5 basis points of their interest up to a maximum of $50. So the entities that have not maxed out up to $50 and they're paying back for us for service fees for investing their money would be increasing the interest rates. They have also gotten additional money which has provided a larger fee for us in the Treasury office for providing the services. So we see that one going up about almost $4,000 next year. The interest received line, we have budgeted at $6,200. This had been previously budgeted under the DOR unclaimed property section. This is actually DOR monies for interest on sales tax before it's distributed. So that one, we see that we'll have another modest increase as well too as the interest rates are rising. Transfer, we'll talk about transfers. Okay. The transfer from the 106 fund, this is money that we take out of the O&M operation funds. Those are derived from foreclosure and restraint proceedings to collect back taxes on property. We transfer money out of that fund to assist in salaries in our office to continue the services. And that transfer has been at as high as $26,000 in the past years. In 2016, it was reduced down to $10,000. And that was because we were seeing a slight decrease in maintaining a fund balance in the 106 fund. Any questions on the revenues?
All on the positive side, thankfully. Questions? Okay.
So our expenditures, so I'm going to go down to the office and operating supplies, and we did not increase that. We did increase our professional service trainers, and that would be our
and especially for Toronto project. Last year we had a contract year resolution go in front of the board. We had to increase this rate for Toronto. It was still less than our previous provider, which was Intercity Legal. And so this was a 2-year contract that will carry us through into 2019.
So on our documents and construction, we went down from $140. The county chose to go with a different carrier, different service, and so that's reflecting what original measures. So a cell phone reimbursements, that's the cell phone that I use in the county. We're increasing it by $80, and on the rest we have no other requests for increase.
Overall, net impact to our expenditure budget is zero. Reallocated some expenses. We've had some savings by switching to a newer modern copier, which has saved us some money in our printing supplies and our office supplies. But unfortunately, we've had some other expenditures go up. Which is mentioned your cell phone requirements has gone up. We've actually seen another increases outside of this budget for our armored car service. We raised it this year, and they raised it on us even more. We think that we can absorb that money. This money would be about a $360 increase that they just gave to us last month. We think we should be able to work that out, right?
Any questions?
Just a recon. So down here at the bottom, I see that the working budget with 31,000 higher. So we're somewhere more than that. What's the difference? I don't see it in the green.
See, a lot of it's in salaries and benefits.
Yeah, okay, that's, you don't green code that then, up here.
No.
Yes, that's where it'd be, okay, no problem. I just looking at the green, because I thought that was the increases for everything, but you're right, automatically, we're not doing that green, okay? You got it. Okay. Okay.
Yes. What would be the impact to your operation, your ability to perform your statutory legal duties in your office if the board had to make a reduction in your budget on the expenditure side?
So right now, on the county review, so this person is by law, you have to have 2 people there, and the 4th person is on the 1 person. We are down on foreclosure clerk as of right now. She moved to a different office, and if that was to replace her, we would have to take our 2 people in our cashiers and move them up into a pay increase so they can absorb the cost to be able to do the foreclosure position also.
So short, you can't do it.
I think if you watched our expenditure budget over the last few years, that we've been trying to shrink costs where we can. If we have other costs that come up, we try to find ways to absorb them internally. So we try to run a pretty tight ship.
Thank you for doing that. I think I'm seeing that throughout the county because we don't want to go through layoffs if we can, if we can help it. But you got to find 800 or 900,000 someplace. And there won't be road shifts this year.
Are we going to be discussing the foreclosure O&M budget and the rebudget, or just the treasurer's budget?
Actually, can I ask one clarifying question on for the bond and banking fees? Is that you figure that's stable as well?
So we just switched banks this year, and so we have not. We're not waiting on the SSB. We are on an annual payment, and so our monthly are going to be $9. So I'm thinking it's going to be lower than we had in the previous years.
This year was, we knew it was going to be quite a bit higher because we had banking fees from currently 2 banks and the deposit switched between both. Umpqua Bank offered us a higher earnings credit rate than what we were receiving before, and the fees were less. So obviously it all depends on the balances of both there, but we're hoping that yes, it'll be in line with what was budgeted if 17, not what was expensed in 17.
The Treasurer O&M budget's on page 57.
So one of the things that's hopefully the board will notice is we are projecting to have a large increase in revenue based on rules budget 2017. And beginning this year, we made a determination rather than going through and charging each portion or each expense of the foreclosure process individually as they were incurred. We broke them into first and second half expenses. And so what this means is rather than somebody paying a $20 letter fee and then if they pay their bill and they don't receive any more fees, we gave the deadline and said by May of this year, if you do not take care of your oldest delinquent year, we're going to add on the first half foreclosure fees, which were $550. It ended up resulting in much more people having to pay the $550 because they were used to dragging their feet and waiting until it really got serious, and then we'd get a lot of payments that would come in the week before they would actually go up to court to start the foreclosure proceeding. This has benefited us greatly. We're expecting to have closer to $60,000 in revenue this year, and we're budgeting about the same next year based on fee allocation. We've also seen some moderate increases in fees that we receive for billing out for delinquency notices. One judge's prerogative is to send out twice a year per love letters to the taxpayers. These initial breaking postcards to let them know if they have a delinquency, in the hopes that they will take care of that rather than continue to pay interest for the next payment period. But with that, we started adding a fee onto that service that's reminding them, which has been actually very well taken by most. A lot of people are very happy when they realize they've saved a few $100 in interest by receiving a $20 fee now. So it's been very well received. Overall, the biggest increases in revenue you'll see will be in the title line. Again, that title fee used to be picked up after we did our certificate of delinquency, and this is after the courts were filed for people that were still not paying. We basically moved that fee out almost a month and put it into that total. And so you'll see a very big increase in it. The expenditures did increase as well, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But it didn't increase for the same reason. We only have to buy titles for those that still go in the foreclosure process. However, we saw a drastic increase in the cost of titles when we went out for bid this year. So, all in all, though, we're projecting to have a very strong year this year. We're hoping that trend continues next year based on this new fee structure. We'll really see if the people that have been in foreclosure and are habitual will continue to wait, or if they learn their lesson this year and they get to the larger upfront fee schedule. Any questions on the revenue side?
Questions?
Nope. The expenditure side, you'll see that a lot of our expenses are the same. Operating supplies, we typically have most of our operating supply purchases at the end of the year when we have to buy binders and things that box up all of the foreclosure records for the year. Our advertising costs have gone down. We've been pretty steady with our advertising costs for both the Herald and the Graphic. The title reports that I mentioned, we budgeted $4,000 last year for expenditures. We budgeted $10,000 for next year. Our title reports almost doubled in cost. We've gone out for bid, and one of the things that we heard from most of the title companies was there's just a lot of movement in the market right now. A lot of new construction being built, a lot of homes being sold, and where this was something that they would kind of pick up and fight over before. They're not fighting over things for time. I think when they did this for us this year, they came in on a Saturday and did it. So we expect that expenditure to be higher next year as well. Postage amounts, we do have up to include our registered mailings, and if it's a lien holder on property or the legal owner will get a certified letter notifying them of foreclosure status. We're pretty much the largest increase in the increase has been solely in the title line. Other things that we believe that they'll be tightened up a little bit. The nice thing in having the fees up front that we have, it actually prompts people to pay before we incur these additional costs. So. And then we have our budget transfer out and current expense against $1,000.
Is there a legal constraint on what you can spend this money on?
Yeah. The O&M funds that are received are only to be used for promoting and the ongoing collection and processing of both real property foreclosure and personal property restraint. That's why it was able to be used to supplement the salaries for the individuals that are doing that. But other than that, we could buy, if there was some foreclosure tracking software, or if there was increased costs in our printing for sending out those postcards, we could pay all of those things, but they have to be foreclosure related.
Thanks.
Yes. 107 is the REIT technology revenues. This only can be used for electronic excise, and for the assessors on their side can be only used for an annual evaluation system. As you can see that the REIT electronic the tech is $13,000, and that is at $2.50 that the receive from the state and the county, and that's the same. On the county portion, expected to go up to about $8,000. So I think that overall, our total resources for that is $28,000. So here's the slide.
We've used this money last year, the assessor's office and the treasurer's office. We used it for increasing our software, our operating software on our computers. Kevin didn't have it in his budget. We were able to use the processes on those systems for local use. So some ideas, I think that the assessor's office use tablets that they've taken out of the field to increase their ability to do their work, take pictures out in the field, and then use it in our office for operating our software and use for software we use Adobe. As you're like version of Adobe, we can work with the electronic submission process to receive the title companies.
Question, guys?
Good.
Thanks.
I had these in here. So we're next.
Ready?
Yep. Already.
You want to be?
Flip the page.
Going down to revenues first now.
Yeah.
Okay. The revenue, the only thing we have for revenue is our reimbursement costs for autopsies. And then we do charge insurance companies if they want any reports. We charge them what the law allows, which is not a lot, but usually it's about $25 for any of the reports that they have. And I think that we're pretty much on Sorry, yeah, or, is there any choice just to make that this year? You know, unfortunately, what doesn't show up there is the benefit that we received. I went to Olympia about 6 times last year and lobbied for a case management system for the state for corners that we can all use, and we were successful at that. So that saves the county about $2,500 a year in case management fees. Also, about 10 years ago, I was able to get the law changed where instead of when a family does not request a funeral home, a rotational funeral home would be called, and then if the family decided they wanted another funeral home, then we would have to pay them $350 for the removal. And we were successful in getting that law changed to now it goes to a bid system, and we're able to get those expenses at no charge, which includes the indigent remains disposal.
Give me an idea how many times that occurs?
Well, for an example, I just looked before I came up. So far this year, we've had 40 cases that there was not a preferred funeral home, and usually it runs about half once the family gets together and then they make a decision. It's about half the time that they let the funeral home.
And any indigent remains?
We've had about 4 or 5 this year, and I think it was budgeted in the commissioner's budget because it comes out of their budget, $5,000 that was earmarked for indigent remains.
Hello?
Hey, Michael?
No, you've reached the commissioner's office. Is there somebody I can help you with?
No, that's okay, sorry.
It was 1,000 in the 2017 budget, and it's in the 1,000 in the 2018 preliminary.
For indigent?
Yes.
That MOU comes back up for renegotiation. It usually runs for 2 years. So this year it comes up for renegotiation.
So, why do we have the red column in the columns here?
Those are requests.
Okay, but you didn't talk about the request, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, because that's what I'm seeing, it really throws this budget off right now, but that's okay. We'll get there then.
So at a request, we're asking for a full-time second deputy coroner. There's several projects that we do besides just death investigation. There's anytime a school or a civic group asks for us to come out and speak, we do that. We're mandatory now required to report on a violent death and a opioid study that's being done by CDC. The state health department has written a grant to conduct that, but the state health department takes all that money and none of it's filtered down, although we still have to do the work and report that on a monthly basis. We also do Hanford Safety Expo every year. We've got 3 schools now that we're doing every 15-minute program. I'm out several times during the first few months lobbying, which my travel on that's usually all paid for by the state association. I'm just out of the office a lot, and it's not fair to put canvas on for 10 days at a time. And then there's vacations and sick time and whatever else comes up.
We get a significant number of requests for data mining projects as well, related to the manner and cause that people die. It could be drug-related or violent deaths or suicide. We've had people running for office call us, have been approached by the FBI and DEA every single year. And those data mining projects are time-consuming because we want to verify that all the information we use is correct, so we understand it.
Do those essentially come through as public records requests?
No.
So it's just a phone call or inquiry to your office, a letter, email, some.
Yeah, sometimes they come see us, sometimes.
Yeah, DEA come in one day and they wanted the information on all the deaths that we had, the opioid deaths, because they were looking at if those prescriptions were coming from any particular physicians.
So that 26,000, that's a part-time increase. That's the increase here. I see it says 26,000 requests.
Yes, and I think with benefits and everything, it comes to about 34,000.
Yeah, the whole thing comes up more. So you have Candace and you have one other person that's part-time?
Yes, but he has another job, and so, he can usually work weekends, and that's about it.
So this would be another person, this wouldn't be a full-time?
Yes, it would be a full-time person.
Okay.
Part-time.
So that's the addition?
Yes.
Because you're going to have a full-time.
And not only the federal standard and the name and National Medical Examiners and the International Association recommends 3 FTEs for every 100,000 population. So the other request that I'm asking for is to there's an increase in $1,000 in our operating supplies. Several years ago, I was successful. There was a Hanford contractor that had lost his bid, and rather than ship all of his protective equipment that he had to his new job site, it was cheaper for him to take that to the dump. I heard about it and was able to secure about a box carload of that stuff that we've been using for the last several years, both myself, Benton County Coroner, and law enforcement whenever we have autopsies. That supply is starting to get low, so we're going to have to start buying those. Also, body bags. I think it's been about 10 or 15 years ago, I was able to get a grant of $25,000 through Homeland Security that we were able to buy gloves, body bags, those types of things that both Benton County, Franklin County, Yakima County had to split, and we're starting to get low on those items as well. We haven't bought any of that stuff in about the last 10 years. So as we're getting low, we're going to have to start purchasing those supplies.
We have to buy the water bottle bags in 2015. They run about $60 a bag. So we have a significant increase in a particular type of death. There's certain types of bags for certain types of death.
Does that stuff not expire after a certain amount of time?
No. As long as you keep it, out of the sun, out of the UV, the gloves will rot after a while. But as long as you use them in a timely manner, they hold up. The white bags last for virtually forever. And then the other request I have is for to get into the motor pool for a vehicle that never had a new vehicle. We've always got the hand-me-down. Right now, we're using a vehicle that was given to us from the road department that's got, what?
154,000 miles on it.
154,000. We're looking along hoping that, it doesn't break down on the way to the call. If it does, I don't know what we're going to do. Recently, the sheriff's office gave us the twin to that. It's another Blazer. It's got about 95,000 miles on it. But I have not had the money to take it into the shop. They haven't gone through to make sure of its worthiness. So the plan is if we get into the motor pool, we'll sell one of the rigs for surplus and take that money and purchase some emergency equipment to put on it, and then keep the best of the two. So that will give us one rig for the motor pool and used rig to use.
I see you got a 34.7 for a vehicle, but if it's going to go through VR&R, you don't have a buyout on it. It's just a monthly fee.
Correct. That's my understanding from Public Works.
But it doesn't amount to $34K.
But I believe you buy it and then you pay the monthly fee.
That covers fuel and maintenance. And then when that lease is up, you get a new vehicle, but there's not a $6,000 setup fee, is it something like that, I believe?
As far as I understand, you do buy the vehicle on the front end and then pay monthly, and then we have to talk to maybe Matt about that. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how that works because we never.
Well, the commissioner's office is not. My pickup, for instance, that I use wasn't bought out ahead. Just a monthly fee or whatever it is now, $600 a month or something.
It does seem like the monthly fee would be built into the rental cost, so you accumulate enough after 5 years to buy another one. But
yeah, but it's on an 8-year rotation instead of 5. But that's right. There's enough money in that. For instance, $600. I don't know what the number is compared to. Because that little pickup that I drive is only worth $18,000 new, so it works out about $600 a month. And at the end of your 8 years, there should have been enough money there to purchase another. So need to talk to Matt.
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
Yeah, I got the figures right from them.
If you bought one outright.
No, that's to get in the motor pool at least.
Okay, well, they may have changed programs then since I got into that pickup, so a question anyway.
Sure.
And isn't that Waco conference in Seattle this year?
Yes, it is.
You got Spokane down here, so. Anything else? You heard us earlier, we got somewhere around $900K to find this year, so.
If I get worse before it's better.
So we aren't okaying anything at this point.
That's usually par for the course.
Unfortunately.
I think last year we were right down to the wire for before it had to be approved, we were still.
And we took out some road shift to do that. Not really road shift this year, so. All right, if there's no questions, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carly's right here close. We can just keep going, can't we?
Sure. Page 46.
If you're ready, Carly, I don't want to get you.
Oh, sure, no.
Okay?
I'm gonna be here anyway.
Yeah.
Task 25 in the notebook, right?
Okay, we're down to, start from the top there.
I mean, overall, there's not a whole lot to tell this year. We do have an increase in our projected revenue from public works. And talking to Matt and looking at our bills for services this year, and some anticipated work that he wants to do with structure and things like that, we decided it was appropriate to increase that amount. There's a slight increase in the budgeted revenues from the track. We have gone to more of a retainer type billing structure with the track. They pay $4,000 per quarter. We are versus the administrative, I would call it a headache of tracking individual services by the hour that are provided. We do work with Tiffany to audit that $4,000 number and make sure that it continues to be appropriate as they change some of the different things that they're doing. But we've found that it certainly makes Tom much more comfortable using our services, knowing that he's not having to watch the clock, that it is that encompassing retainer. And as we've analyzed it from a detail type standpoint, it's still in line with the amount of services that they're receiving. And we did take a look at that together again for 2018 to make sure everybody was comfortable with budgeting it that way. From an expense standpoint, the only increase in expense that we have is the increase in the contracted services for our labor negotiator and HR consultant contract, which, as the board recalls, staffing changes in the prosecuting attorney's office earlier in 2017, that contract was increased. So that's reflected in this budget. The other requests that I've made in the budget were decreases to the budgeted amounts.
Yes.
Bottom line is a decrease.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Mrs.
We've been working very hard to maximize our spending in terms of, we've been looking a lot at our advertising for open positions. It used to be that we just advertised in the Herald at 200 and something bucks a pop, and we've been tracking where our applicant traffic has been coming from, and it's not necessarily from there for a lot of positions. So we've been looking at it with the hiring managers, very specific to each position, and coming up with a recruiting advertising strategy and leveraging some less expensive, more technological type resources to ultimately get those costs down, but still widen our reach with our advertising as appropriate to the position.
So, we talked about classification. Is that what this contracted service is for?
The contracted services for 2018 that's for our labor and HR consultant that we have on contract for 2018. Some of the spending, we had moved some funds in for the compensation study that is still being conducted, that I will, in the next couple weeks, be providing an update to the board. I meant to meet with Mr. Johnson on that last week, but some other priorities came up that took our time. So, be getting with him this week and providing you an update on that.
So will that end it? Is that enough to finish the classification?
With what I have already, yes. I am very much hoping so.
Good.
Further questions?
I just wanted to clarify that the 2018 preliminary budget is the preliminary is less than what's listed as the 2017 working budget, but the contracted services was actually started the year at 33,600, and there were transfers in to bring it up to the 58,603 that's currently in there, and that's why only 33,600 was baselined over to 2018, because that's actually what was given in the preliminary budget.
So you dropped it down to the adopted amount.
Correct. If you would include all requests, it would be the budget would be up 6,000 from the 2017 working budget column.
And that's why, because I see you got 384 and then you got 391 last year. So
well, then there's 12,009.
That's not
12,000. That's not included in that.
So, yeah, because that's not green or red or anything.
Correct.
Okay, so we are increased by some thousand.
The revenues are up as well.
Yeah, that's 5,000.
By about the same amount, yes.
By about the same amount. But again, that contract increase was a result of some staffing changes in another office that led to the county needing those increased services. And if you look at the last few years in terms of outside of those contracted services, which have been driven by some other expertise, I have asked for decreases each year in those other areas, looking at streamlining the expenses.
Okay. So we have civil service, which is 5 million.
Yeah. Page 42.
Okay,
In the civil service budget, we have requested a decrease of almost $13,000, and that is to eliminate the salaries and benefits lines associated with this budget. Those functions of the civil service chief examiner have been absorbed into the existing personnel costs within the HR budget. My HR generalist has been designated by the Civil Service Commission as the civil service examiner, so we are not in need of the additional salary budgets within the 1590. And then as far as the expenditures, we have just requested essentially to move some funds around with the same bottom line of 3750 to where they're more appropriate. I don't know that those have been changed in years past. This was my first year of managing this budget, and certainly my first year requesting the budget. It doesn't appear that in previous years the funds have been moved between the lines to where they're appropriately spent, but the bottom line is the same.
so Eric has got enough time in his budget or in his salary that you can let him do this?
We've made the time to do it. It's something that it is appropriate for him to do, and while it took a lot of time investment up front when we first had a new commission and were kind of getting things up to speed, the maintenance of the function is not overly time consuming. The commission is very engaged, and it provides them the administrative support that they need. But in terms of the day-to-day time, it's an investment of time, but we're able to balance that out with the workload in the office. I'm not overly concerned that it's.
How is that civil service board? Is it full right now?
The commission is full. We have. All of them are relatively new. We have Terry Schwartzen was previously on the commission, but as you're aware, we have two positions on that commission open up this year. Jim Dickinson, retired sergeant from the deputies, is on the commission now, and Michelle Andrus is sitting on that commission as well. So they're very engaged, and we've gotten some good processes going. And it's been very much decreasing the amount of time that it's taking the sheriff to be able to fill positions. So we've definitely seen a positive impact from the changes that the commission is making, and they're starting now to work on revamping their rules and getting them up to compliance with some of the changes. Yeah. I don't know when the last time they were really looked at, but the commission's starting to dig into them. Michelle went to the civil service conference this year, and we anticipate one of the commissioners will go to the conference each year to help them keep up on the trends and staffing, and ultimately make sure that the sheriff has good candidates to choose from in a fair and impartial manner.
Yeah, there has been some long-time commissioners on there.
There have been, as we talk about a lot, things have changed a lot in the realm of personnel, whether it's cops or,
I think Betty has been on there for almost 30 years or something?
a long time. We couldn't even really pinpoint when she first entered the commission, but, she certainly devoted a lot of years to service to the Civil Service Commission.
Any questions for Carly? Nope. Thanks.
Thank you.
That gets us down until 1:15 the way it looks. Yep. Anything else at this point?
Let me make sure. It must be the new one, I'm looking for the other one. It said we had, Office of Public Defense, 1115, but must be the old one. Is that correct?
Yeah,
That's no one?
not on Monday, next
23rd?
week on the 30th.
They switched.
We did have some switching around.
Yeah, okay, so, you gave us a new one, though, it's correct?
The one you got today is correct.
Yeah. There it is. So I'm going to throw this away. There it is. Yep, correct.
Well, there, see, if there's nothing else, we'll recess until, according to this, we're on back on at 1:15.
Okay. Questions, which one's changed where?
All right, looks like everybody is here, ready to get started again on building, planning and building. Doing expense 130. Go on down the 130 budget and help us out with some of these numbers.
Mr. Chairman, did you want us to go down?
Yeah, start with the resources and come down and just right off the bat, I've noticed that 2016 was on the building structures. You know, you collected 428 and 16, budgeted 425 and 17, and the same in 18.
On that note, Matt, I did add, that 100,000 there. I just did some quick trending on the number and, not knowing what's going on in the building permit world other than just straight trend. To me, it looked like, I forget how much, I thought that we were going to get close to 500 by the end of this year, and so I figured we had just basing it over the 425, and I was thinking that, it looked just on trend that you could add another 100,000 on that, not knowing what's going on in building permit land.
Yeah, I think with both of us, and I don't mean to speak for more, but both of us being fairly new, we didn't want to come in and overstate certainly revenues without having a good experience. Also, we did have discussions. We kind of see where are areas within the county where we're developing. Of course, we've seen a lot of developments, and the question is there enough available land in Franklin County, mainly where we're seeing it is inside the UGA, is whether there's still enough available land in those areas to be able to keep up with that trend. I don't disagree with you guys, and we have no issues from that standpoint, raising it. It's good to see the trend up there, and I apologize that we didn't quite get this, we didn't enter this way, we really get this good view. So,
trending up with the building permits coming in this year is extremely high compared to prior years. And with the OFM numbers that I think we're going to get from GMA coming out this November, I think the county's going to be seeing a significant downturn in the GMA projections growth over the foreseeable future. So a lot of the other indicators of the inventory are down. Whether or not we're going to be able to sustain that level of new home permits is questionable.
You know, the thing was in 16, the end of 16, he collected 428. 17 only budgeted 425, which, you know, it's, if you look back, it's going 143, 76, 280, 400, you know.
Correct.
So this first chart here is just my little trend that I did on it. Right now through the first part of the year, we've done 394,000 through September. You know, and these are just forecasted numbers, which, you know, I'm showing 539 by the end of the year. And, you know, then based on that, just straight forecasting out 546 for 2018.
I mean, we could probably add a little to that, but we have a few factors out there that are unknown, like the Hearst decision, what that's going to, you know, ultimately end up doing. I don't see the building permits for residential homes coming in quite as rapid next year as they were this year, personally. Mainly because there's not as much vacant ground inside the UGA, so some of that will depend on how that transpires during this update process that we're going through. Increasing it, you know, probably increase it 40 to 50,000 for residential homes would be somewhat okay, but once again, not having enough experience myself, it's hard to predict for me. The Hearst decision, one guy hanging out there, I didn't want to over-predict.
You know, that Hearst decision, I can't believe that it's not going to go away if anybody wants a capital budget. So it's just a heads butting between the two parties right now. And you just keep talking about building in the UGA. There's miles and miles of ground out there to build in.
But those are the two factors why you don't think the residential will continue the building. You think that there's less area and also the Hearst.
Well, the Hearst, whether or not we can even get major subdivisions outside of the UGA, outside of the city's water system. You know, it's just kind of, we don't know how we're going to handle that yet.
Things aren't slowing down over this last.
Well, hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
Well, I would put 500 in there anyway, if they want to be that conservative.
Add another, so 75 units in?
That's what I would suggest. I don't know if...
Sounds good. We'll hold Mahoney to it.
Yes. Well, you know, every year the guys come in here on planning and underestimate the building permits. And this is held flat for 17, you know, it was higher than that in 16, so I don't know how we got away with 4 1/4 last year. So, okay.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Like I said, we just didn't want to be the ones being new to the market coming in. We appreciate that. Revenue is one of those things that, from this standpoint, certainly has an impact on the general fund. We didn't want to come in here over-inflate life.
Yeah.
500 seems that should be sustainable.
I also see the city of Pasco has dropped since 16. I don't understand how we let that go last year.
on Connell or?
Permits, city, oh, I'm sorry, City of Connell, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they had that one subdivision. You just haven't been getting a lot of permits in there.
It's 5,048 through the end of September of this year.
Pardon?
It's 5,048 through the end of September this year.
Yeah. And 12,000 might be
Might be excessive this year.
kind of hard to get a one prison project and you kind of meet that goal.
Yeah, through the end of September, you could almost probably drop that to 10 for next year. Hate to go backwards, but
realistically.
yeah.
Did you want to bring that down, commissioners?
Probably. What do you think? You're gonna call out that.
Well, like Lawrence says, you know, that subdivision, it's almost built out.
It is, it's getting there.
And,
And then usually it sounds like most of the revenue over the years has kind of come from prison projects here and there. Kind of hard to predict that.
So what do you think? You wanna leave it?
yeah, drop it to 10.
Okay, yes, I would agree.
Lisa is kind of a crapshoot, you know.
Just kind of leave it there.
Yeah, probably so.
Of course, the other numbers, sales publications, those are fairly nominal numbers and really, I don't know, since you've been there, how many?
So I have a lot of people coming in asking for maps. So,
Where are we at? I think the other ones are that, plan check fees, where are we at?
50,489.
that's an area that we could see a difference in if we changed our percentage on residential homes to reflect what other counties are doing around us. We're at 5% for residential. Most of the counties are right around us for 20% residential, based on the average number of homes coming in that we're working with. It's about $45,000 by my estimate as to where we are with the number of homes today this year. So that could be anywhere, $40,000 to $50,000.
An additional,
But it would mean that we would need to take action to raise our PDO. Because a rule that brings in about right around, I want to say around $170 or something, 5%, somewhere in the 200 to review a brand new house plan. And with the review that's going through the front office, and the guys, we've got to account for about 3 hours of plan review by the inspector, not to mention the front office, setting up the files, and doing paperwork for probably
you don't have any square homes anymore that, so you don't have any square home sites anymore, they're all,
it takes a little bit to review.
so, additional 25 on that, or?
That's if we raise, and we're thinking that we might entertain a percentage increase on the fee schedule to 20% for residential homes instead of 5% to help cover the actual actual cost, then, yeah, you probably raise it 25,000, 30,000.
Well, I think you should be able to recover your cost.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things we've been talking about. Unfortunately, I apologize, these conversations were going out, we submitted the preliminary budgets, and that's certainly an area that we're taking a hard look at as these review fees. And it's not so much being consistent with those around us, it's about making sure that Franklin County has a fee that is recouping the necessary costs.
Kept whole.
I agree with Warren that, 50,000 on this was a little bit above that at this point. Again, we should be right out of it.
It's at 50,489 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, adding, like Warren said, another 30,000. And we're going to be working diligently to get these numbers and get that update in front of the board for you guys' considerations.
So that percentage charge, you say it's now at 5%, and basing it on comparisons with our neighboring counties could go as high as 20%, and that's a percentage of the
Percentage of the building permit fee itself. So if you get a building permit fee, then you charge a percentage of that fee per plant.
So it's basically tied to the price of the lot and the house on the lot.
No, it's just the construction price. Just the building permit value itself. So roughly it'll go to about 300 and something. 340, 350 for an average house.
Add 30. And get some paperwork put together for the end of the year.
And with all of this, as we go through this and discussing, one of the things we're going to be focusing on is getting the planning and building department over to CAMS, which is the Costa County system that the board has approved that in the Public Works Department. And that by far will give us the valuable information we need to ensure that we're not overcharging and we're not undercharging all these fees. So it's just kind of having that data available in a format that we can will certainly help with that. So hopefully at the first of the year, that's going to be one of the things we're going to be instituting as well. And then after that first year, that's always good. Being able to tie it down actually at the permit level, the actual cost at the permit level. So
that brings us down to site plan review, and that, 15 and 16, you're over 11,000, and dropped to 8,500 for 17 and 18.
And we're at 8,350 through September this year.
Yeah, that's a zoning review, give you a sheer number of permits, so we're about 75, 80 permits above normal. And if those permits weren't there, because that's a straight set fee, established fee for looking at checking the zoning and doing the zoning review for permits. So I think we're going to maintain the same permit volume next year as we have this year, which, like I said, is about 70,507 permits to an estimated about 85 permits at the end of the year above normal.
But normal's been, 15 to 16 or 11,000, and you got 80, either 83 or 85 through 9 months. I'd bring that to 10.
Well, that's what I wonder, why the cuts, is just because of conservative, or is it being conservative, or do you really think that these things are gonna go down? I don't see those going down.
Well, one thing we didn't want to come to the board this time around, both of us really looking at these budgets for the first year, we didn't want to come to the board and have inflated revenue. What's important for us is that we're looking at, believe me, we're sitting there looking at what our current was and going based on this for the rest of the year. We were, doing the ratio type math to come up with what it would be at the end of the year, but then it's also having discussions on, so what we didn't want to do is inflate revenue. So we did take a conservative approach on the revenue side. We did this but all of this conversation is what we were hoping for.
Yeah, good.
A little of this, I think, last year was driven by the fact that we're coming into an election with a lot of unknowns, and the prior folks were really trying to be cautious. I don't know if conservative is necessarily the right word, but certainly cautious about not overstating revenues that we're expecting for this year. Clearly, this year has performed better than anticipated than we were a year ago.
Last year, 85, I don't have enough information, I didn't feel comfortable.
The same.
So what does that bring to 2018? I can't see those numbers, they're too darn small for me.
Well, I haven't changed the number on that one. Did you want to add 1,500 on that one?
Correct.
The total for the 101-131 is 527,000 now. There was a, oh no, that can't be right. Oh, my formulas are wrong. 602,000. Yes, 602,000. My formulas are. Yep,
salaries and benefits have been pre-loaded.
Correct.
For 18.
Yeah, we did a little work with a couple of positions separating out between planning and building, so it may not be directly preloaded for this year because there was a creation of, there was kind of a reorganization that occurred in that department, so we did pull real numbers and kind of redid them, so that we're feeling pretty confident with the numbers we have at this point based on current staff and current positions.
So if you do the outsourcing, do you need that much for the tuition school?
On the building side?
Yes.
Planning.
No, but planning building.
Yeah, the guys are over budgeted in that one this year. By the time you send them to the process for their certifications to maintain their credits.
By 30,000?
Pardon?
By $30,000?
Oh, where are you at?
At the bottom of page 7.
Yeah, there's the tuition in school.
Were you showing up for?
Okay, you're showing the difference.
The requests are in that. Yes, so you had 33,500 total for tuition schooling.
That's what I'm asking,
Oh,
what,
that one's, no, that.
Yeah.
what rate
It's
is
supposed
30,000?
it's supposed to be 3,500.
3,500. We put it in wrong.
Okay.
When it was sent to you, it was wrong, there's an extra zero.
Yeah, it's 3,500.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I was going back through my numbers, and yeah, we have 3,500.
I said, what did I say?
And that's on tuition and schooling, 3,500.
Yes,
3,500.
Okay.
sorry about that.
Question.
Yeah, 32K, some little.
Yeah, one big jump.
Send them to Harvard.
Did not get hit, or we'll go back up to professional services, an extra 34K.
Yeah, that's cover the use of the building department for building inspection help, and then the rest of the periodic update for the comp plan update.
So that includes a consultant?
Is that for unfilled positions then?
Pardon?
Because you haven't been able to fill positions.
Yeah, when we get permit overlook people gone for vacation sick, we contract with the building department here in the Tri-Cities who goes out, helps us catch inspections so we can keep them moving faster. That's kind of been an ongoing thing that the county's been doing. Rather than hire an employee, it's a little bit cheaper than an employee.
But we've been using them for a while. Where's the numbers previous? Well, according to, I don't know where it is on that sheet up there, but according to what I got on the breakdown here, professional services shows nothing at all through.
Well, there's two professional services, one in planning, we haven't been using, one in building that we work.
Yeah, it looks like all of the costs are in 101, 1K2 as far as what's been spent in previous years.
Just the planning side of their budget.
So there's almost been 50,000 through September of 2017, as shown on the board up here.
Yeah, and part of that was you a little bit because when my predecessors left, we used consultants to cover the building and the planning department for a while. So expect that to go, we won't be using that next year hopefully, and then the building department and to finish up with the contractor, the periodic update of the comp plan, that's kind of the numbers we've included in there.
No,
And then, can't remember if we submitted it. I suppose if we address some help with the first decision, that would probably come out of that line item as well.
well, between planning and building, that line item is 55,000.
Correct.
And it was, it's a working budget of 76,000 in 2017. There was money, I believe, that was transferred from salaries and benefits for 17 into that line. But it's a current year budget of 76,000.
Where do we see that?
It's up on the board right here, the adjusted amount. That's not what was adopted last year, but it's what was, what's been transferred in there. It's the current budget for it. It's 76,000, and there's been 50,000 spent.
So, you get the professional service You understand that? Okay, then back to the professional service, the comp plan. We get reimbursed by the state for that? None. 0. Okay. We used to.
I know we used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that,
Yeah. Okay. Wow. We don't need to do those.
yes, we used to cover it all.
All right, any other highlights on building?
There's just some minor little raises in some of the other things because of the estimated. Nobody knew what the fees were gonna be related to electricity and rent for the building, things like that. So those have been adjusted up just a little bit to cover those actual costs as they come to this first year we're in that building. So we've raised those to cover what the current fees are.
Like utilities, you raised 6,000 between the two departments.
Facilities went up.
This is 1 through 2.
So we got notification for facilities.
Take away from me.
9,000 added 9,000.
Chairman, yeah, we did receive notice from the facilities director that,
Watch out behind you, you get slapped in the back of the head.
That's all right. Those numbers are included there, as well as some of the other utilities. And we're going to be working, there's certainly some things that both Lauren and I noticed and we discussed, that we're going to be working on to hopefully kind of better organize it and put these in a way that the board can really see these costs. Like, when you have a building that's kind of multi-use where you have really two different funds that are utilizing it as well as other government entities that are using it, we're really going to be focusing on all those costs and how that cost is being distributed, make sure it was being distributed fairly and equally among everybody, because those were questions, even simple questions that I had was, who's paying for the toilet paper and the paper towels that go in the bathroom, is that part of what's being reimbursed, And those questions still need to be answered, but also need to be included when you are paying for the rent, but then turning around and billing everybody else, making sure that all of the overhead is included in that as well. So we're going to be looking at all those things really closely. Like I said, I think CAMS will help in really being able to break out those things so we can calculate what those even internal overhead rates are that should be added when you're cost sharing rent.
So we're paying the rent and charging the other two entities then?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go through planning then. Business license, still, that number's still good?
I think so.
either business license or subdivisions haven't changed since 17, and you're not expecting any growth at all, or?
Isn't so much the growth as it is that we expect to maintain, and as growth shifts outside the UGA, it'll be short class, which are smaller fees and subdivision fees.
Well, they haven't
So we
changed.
just didn't know, so we felt safer to leave it, you know, to project across.
What's the revenues for so far in 17 for like?
Well, the permits are 551, and the planned divisioning is 13,365.
So that 13 isn't, that may make it, but you're over already for the permits, so.
And that's definitely one we looked at, and as we're kind of just doing math and looking at things, we could raise that up to 60, but we feel comfortable doing that. I mean, I feel comfortable doing that based on our current numbers and the trend.
Projections. What's that, 5 years? It sounds like the subdivisions probably should leave alone. Okay.
So add 5 to the 321.99.
Correct.
That sounds 5 to what? You're adding 5.
Other business license permits now.
Yeah, it's just 55, then we're gonna add 5.
Yes, sir.
Yes, because that's, 60 for 60. That's where I got questions. And I would agree, and then the other one, I think you keep where it's at, 'cause it's, old.
See, down on the expenditure side, it's going to be basically what the difference is in the building. Is what it is for the lower part there, and shouldn't be in it this one. We won't even be in it a full year this year, will we? When do we move in? When did planning move in there?
2016.
It was last year, so
We've had a full year this year.
this will be a full year.
Hopefully, more lives, Michael, forward is really for both of these departments to to break. Become less dependent on the rest of the fund.
I know you've done a good job over in Public Works, so software must help.
It really, not just what you're doing, all of having a lot more information, I figure more the better. We're trying to manage resources and cut costs. I tell everybody, it's not trying to do more with less, it's trying to do the same with less. Yeah. Let's focus on that.
That's about all we can do at this point. And then you have another miscellaneous 108.
I'll be honest with the board, this is a fairly arbitrary number because that's a pass-through. And what we're hoping is that there may be some grant money available.
It's on page 60.
But we're still in a holding pattern. Lord knows with some of our other funds that are dependent upon the state passing a budget.
You see, this is all passed through.
Yeah. And if we receive more state or federal money than anticipated, we're more than willing to come back to the board and supplement the budget. That's never a bad thing to supplement it on unexpected,
Checking your hand.
unanticipated funds.
All right, guys. Let's have some more questions. Keith? Rick? Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Page 14.
So on my budget right here, there was this number. I saw that it was up there on because it's supposed to be for the 502 building, and they told me they hadn't budgeted anything for that because it's supposed to be a reimbursement to us for $5,000. And I was when I talked to Lauren, they said that they hadn't budgeted that at all on their side, but I saw that it was up there for like $7,000 or something. So any sense on the 502?
It's probably from.
It's not.
It's probably for EM. I think it's for EM.
So it's supposed to be. They were supposed to reimburse our department back for all of the operations for this year. They had said that they had not budgeted for that, but when I looked, when you guys were reviewing it, I did see it on their budget, and it was for $7,000, I think. No, it's like I got a 6 on the end of it. I'm sorry to ask.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's money coming. That's money going into their department.
For what? Because as you see, it's the 3625. It's the exact same budget, but it's exactly the same title, everything, and that's supposed to be refunding our department.
Well, no, that's revenue in their department, though.
And that's revenue in our department.
The rent in Highland Building. Is that Ian?
Well, yeah, moved out by the past. That's you from Weed Fest. We must pay for Pasco out here. And then we must there's 8 other facilities.
So we
money that's in planning and building.
And it's the same title on ours, and they are supposed to reimburse our department, and they said they hadn't budgeted anything for our department for this year.
No, but it would be...
No, it would be for like the operations and maintenance, like...
But it wouldn't be up here, it would be down in the expenses if they did.
Okay. It's just weird to see it under the same number and the same title, everything.
Need to be cleaned up a little stuff where there's some sharing of codes in the title.
Yeah, it's just the same.
Okay, I just wondered because it was just making sure that they were paying when they were supposed to be paying.
Jennifer, I got to speak to you a little later about class. A little bit, okay?
Oh, okay. You got your shirt?
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Too heavy.
Mark, that you said
No, I wasn't supposed to. Oh, it does say that, didn't it?
text him or something.
Yeah, it did say that.
Because he needs to pick him up and get him in by Wednesday.
Yep, he does. We had it. Should we? Paying Mark, I got those. So they're here. Okay. Here, desk. Up here. Okay, we should be at the budget meeting for another hour, and then we'll be down there. But you can come up here and grab them too. Okay. Thank you. We'll see you. Bye.
All right. Go through the revenues first.
Yeah, is it 151?
Major changes there. You're starting to build back some of the departments.
The main one we do fill back throughout the year is the corrections center, and so you'll see some revenue in there. We fill back the public works closer to the end of the year because of the landscaping and the snow removal that we do for them. And we want to get that closer to the actual number when we fill back. And the 502 building had informed us that they did not budget anything for this year for reimbursement for us. And so I'm not anticipating anything back from them just because they didn't budget for it. I did speak to them about it in they had brought it up, when I was sitting here, so it's closer to, I believe, a $10,000 reimbursement instead of a $5,000, just because we're taking on the contract for the, heating and air, we want to get the pest control, the janitorial supplies, any maintenance that we have to do for the outside of the building.
And the 502 is the planning and building.
So that 5,000 is entirely from planning buildings?
Correct. It's budgeted in the absence of the director and so forth, it's gotten this from budgeting purposes.
And nothing's been collected this year so far, or?
Not from them.
Questions on that?
That's not showing up in the change request.
It should have been $10,000. Should have been.
Which line will that show up in? Is that the, now it says 5,000 to 3625.
3625, yeah.
Rent space, facility lease. Of course, the owner's apartment fund line, didn't see that.
I think we're into the 5.
And I'm not sure if that was in their
Yes, that's what it's in.
budget. I know that they did bring it up and, speaking
Yeah,
about.
that's what I'm asking. It's included on the expenditure side and planning and building, it needs to show up in your revenue line somewhere. I'm not
Right, and
saying-
that's what we're discussing, but I wanted to make sure that they had budgeted on their side, because this year they didn't budget anything for payback.
So Jennifer, if they budget for the expenditure side, which revenue line does it show up for you?
It would be the facility, the 362500.
Okay, the rent space and facility.
Correct, that would be the public works
And that should be
reimbursement.
10,000 instead of 5,000? Or
Correct, 10,000.
So you'd expect 10,000 building and planning to pay for it.
Yes.
So
There is, there's operating rentals and leases, they have 5,000 in that line, if that's the,
then 7125 in planning. Under building lease, that doesn't.
yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily the,
I don't think that's the same.
no, I think it's probably there's operating rentals and leases, one to 4,500 in planning, but it's not 10,000 right now, it's 5,000.
Jennifer, it looks like you've only collected 42,000 of the 108,000 from corrections this year. Is that just a timing delay?
I think it's a timing delay. I'm showing a little more than on my budget. No, I am 42,000. You're correct. We have probably about 3 more budget cycles to go, or 3 more cycles before we end for the year. They've got a couple more doors they want to put carports in. We're working on lighting the yards, A&D right now, and so that'll pretty much bring it up to the 108,000 that we have budgeted.
Oh, but they have money spent in that right now, and Jennifer hasn't collected, so I don't know if it is that, but
The 502 building this year so far has spent $9,488.
Yeah, that's all that.
Is your building the 502, or is it the building planning building's the 502?
That's the 502, is the building and planning building. So that 4,500 is
Which one are you looking at?
well, I was looking at 4,500. And that would normally likely be my line item.
The 4,500 is just payments to, it's, now, well, the operating rentals and leases was to Konica for copier. As seen right here. That's all that's in there, for the current year anyway. I don't think they added anything in.
Can we add that in?
So you're considering it rent?
It's operations and maintenance.
Operations.
It's O&M.
I guess I'm slightly confused. You have 9,000 on that first line there for interfund. In this one here, you have interfund from planning and building for 9,000. And then there's this that you were saying to add 5,000 to the rent space and facilities, please. Right, but this isn't the planning and building. This one here is, right?
And I don't have that on my, that's not on my budget. I only have 3 line items, and it's the county roads, which is public works, the corrections, and the rent space and facility lease, which is the 502. And that's,
I think maybe, perhaps I created a line for you based on what it was.
that would be the confusing part to me.
I don't actually remember. I'd have to look.
If you have.
Well, you know, just had a conversation with you. I think I just asked you one day and you came by.
Yeah, and that might have been, but then we probably don't need to rent space in facility lease.
Okay.
As a revenue, that was taking place at the 502 building.
Okay.
So if you did actually put the planning and building.
Yes, I think I created a separate line for it based on when we talked.
And I'm not sure, I would rather have it $10,000 and not, I mean, they've already spent almost $9,500 this year, and they're, in the next 3 months, I guarantee they'll.
So this one would be 10,000 then,
Correct, and then
and then this one would go away.
Yes. That makes more sense.
Okay.
I think there's
okay, very good. I have a note here. Added based on conversation with Jacob. Okay, that makes sense now.
Just move over the right a little bit, we'll get it.
Is there only 5,000 in building to pay for it?
I don't know that they have anything. I don't think they have anything budgeted.
It was my understanding that they did not budget for it this year.
So I guess that's something we should be adding on their side.
Correct.
Then.
I was hoping they would have mentioned it, and they were mentioning it.
Isn't that what they included in utilities?
And we do not pay for their utilities. That is not part of our O&M. They pay for their utilities separate.
Right.
We can confirm with them outside of here, and then.
My understanding was that they were, that the requested increase in their utilities line in planning and building. Matt, maybe you want to respond to this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was that the requested increase for the planning and building budgets for the utilities line included the charges that facilities was going to charge next year for their costs. Is that?
It includes some of that, but just, and as well as the normal utilities. So we incorporate all that.
There was looks like a $6,000 requested increase between the two planning and building.
So you've accounted for the $10,000 of interfund charges that Jennifer has in her budget?
Yes, that's been accounted for in that budget.
Okay.
Yes. Part of this was trying to make sure that how things were being caught in the past and how they were actually being coded out using the barge accounts was consistent so the board can see it. Now, me personally, that doesn't mean that I like to see it continually to be charged out to certain barge accounts or object codes, and we're going to be looking at changing those. But for this year, we wanted to make sure that the board, when they were seeing they were seeing it in places that they're accustomed to seeing it in. And so, yes, I did have to email. That was part of the cost that we put in.
Jennifer, if they didn't budget for 2017 and you haven't been able to recover that cost, you've just been able to absorb it by not doing it?
It is an expense. There is an expense in our budget for the building, but we aren't going to be able to recover it. Just the team.
Okay.
That's all.
Back on the same page now.
I'm pretty sure those are reforms.
Going to the expenditures.
That's the toughest conversation so far.
This additional help you're looking for, I'm guessing.
The employee?
Yeah.
We already have the employee, it was just, we already have him, we just wanted to move him, because of the way it was budgeted already, we just wanted to move him into, where he's supposed to be on the baseline. I think we have him under a landscaper, and we wanted to remove that, it's already been done with the resolution. Is that, yeah?
Well, it's a $34,000 request under salary and wages. On this bid sheet.
I don't know, I think it's misinterpreted. I thought this was a new position, but it looks, I think it is just a reclass, so
Right.
I think that's going away.
Yeah, it's already been, the position's already been moved over. We just wanted to erase one of the positions and add the maintenance tech in there. It wasn't, it was only a difference of $5,000 this year, and then making sure that.
So all those red lines and the 10s and 20s are false?
Sounds like we shouldn't have added them. There must be a corresponding negative in another line. They're not in the baseline, they're still in the request mode.
So did the rating change of that person?
Correct. It would have been, I believe, a 15.
But it happened to be a resolution, like, the change
Yeah,
was made, so that change that had already been approved by the board should have been baselined over.
Yeah, and I think it should be.
You're not requesting a change.
No, it was just to make sure that that change was budgeted correctly. Yeah, it was.
So this position here probably should be.
Right.
Is that?
No, he's already there. Yeah, it should be 13.
Okay, correct. So that.
Yeah, they should be the same.
So those all should be good then?
Yep.
Okay, so no adjustment.
Correct. Thank you.
So we all okay with the 10s and 20s then?
Yep.
And we got some capitals you've got, Jennifer.
You want to talk about the capitals or go keep talking about the expenses? Capitals?
Well, it looks like you got a bunch of capitals in the expenditures here, so.
We talk about the tailgate spreader.
Correct.
So if items are under $5,000, we put them in like a small tool line item. Where in the past we may have considered them technically a capital, but since they don't meet the threshold for our annual report, items under 5,000 are basically like almost like office supplies.
Okay.
Very large office supply.
It's just not capital.
Yeah.
So we won't depreciate it.
Okay.
So the first one is the tailgate spreader to go on the truck with the plow. Right now we're either spreading ice melt by hand or we're waiting for Public Works to come in and assist us with that if they can. Some days they can, some days they can't. It would set us a little bit forward so that way we can keep on, when somebody's plowing, all they have to do is back up and they have the tailgate spreader on their plow truck, and that'll shave off at least an hour of our time in the morning when we're trying to remove all the snow from all of the buildings. It's better to do it all at once than go back over it again. Once it's there.
Yeah, and if you're not okaying anything today.
Oh, yeah, I know. And
So we
I
can-
figure it's just a yes or no game and,
Stir treads,
the
eliminate them.
going up the second to third floor in the public safety building, they're cracked and peeling back. More or less going to start becoming tripping hazards, so we want to get on that before somebody actually is there. The exterior door on the 502 building, they are currently parking on the left-hand side of the building where it's a gated area for their employee trucks and their regular vehicles. They have no way to enter back into the building in that gated parking area. They have to walk all the way around or pound on the door and hope somebody comes and lets them back in. It's just changing it so it's an enter and an exit, not just an exit door. We also have a gas detector. We've had a couple of instances this year where it would come in handy to have something like that before we sent somebody in. And it's just one of those things where we don't need it all the time, but when we do need it, it's a life or death kind of thing. And so we'd like to get at least one for the building.
A gas detector, you mean, inside the building, the carbon dioxide?
Yeah, well, if you're in a small area, we've had to go down into the fire vaults to make sure that the smoke detectors down there were working. The fire line is still on and pressurized. You open that up and we had to let it air out for a good 2 to 3 hours before we can even enter in there. It was pretty noxious. And
You
then,
just can't use a meter, you're gonna get something that's $1,000.
yes, yeah. And can you really put a price on life? Yeah, see, there you go.
Now, of course, I understand, but just didn't know how much alcohol to get.
Right.
We have a little meter there.
Yeah, and we do have meters on some rooms, and we have carbon monoxide, meters on certain rooms that we've had instances in, but the valve rooms, such as the vaults, the fire vaults, we don't have anything on those. The LK refrigerator water cooler, it's just to replace, there's 2 water coolers that are older in the public safety building, and if we're going to replace them, it'd be nice to have a bottle filler on them. And it's just an option.
And that's easier to read.
Oh, yeah.
Super easy to read on here no matter what.
Oh, yes.
Where are we with communication? What have we spent so far?
On communications, we spent $2,244. We have a balance of $1,500 or something.
Okay, so that
There shouldn't be anything.
should be all right there. Travel training and
It's going to be the same for travel training. We've got a couple of pesticide licenses. Everything that we wanted to take is pretty local. We don't have any big expenses in that one. Just a matter of if sprinkler class comes up or something that the guys want to take, get the opportunity to have the money in there. So.
you had operating rentals and leases. Is that,
We usually put paper, like copier paper and stuff like that in there.
so that's staying stable.
Yes.
And also the building lease obviously is stable. Pasco hasn't raised that.
think I don't know if we asked for an increase on the. I think I was good in the building lease.
Not according to my master sheet. It'd be in this column if you had a request. Assuming I entered it, of course.
So the only one that I've asked for increases on are the building expenses.
Okay, well, I just didn't know if
No, I.
17 hasn't, 18 hasn't changed from 17. And I just was curious if Basswood didn't change the annual rent.
It went up a little bit this year. And we pay about $700 a month rent.
So that would still be under budget. Yeah. Okay, I just, it looks strange not raising it. More leases, still, how many years you got?
I think it's a month. And they're looking to tear down everything else.
And the utilities for this
If the utilities are fine. We increased them last year, the first time in probably 3 or 4 years, I believe, and so they kept, we've kept up with them.
Okay.
We increased those last year. I'm looking at, as of 9/30, we've only spent about half of that on utilities. Is that, again, timing issues, or do we have?
During the winter months, it's gonna go up considerably. I don't know that we would use all of it, but they do increase. It's almost double or triple the amount that we pay during the summertime, during the winter. And we can, if you'd like to, we can go back to what we spent last year and kind of base it on that. 2016 was actually 91,000.
Well, that's through 9:30.
Okay.
I'm not asking you to predict the weather, but, because I know
Right.
it's a function of.
$145 was actually spent in 16. 202 the year before.
2015 was a big year.
Yeah.
Okay, you're comfortable.
I am.
Les Clark, that'll be okay again, staying stagnant on that.
The annex building, yeah.
Any changes there? What's the utility of the alleyway Atomic Foods?
That's gonna be the Justice Center, parking lot lights, I believe. The wall that runs along the Justice Center, or the Atomic Foods, that's gonna be where it is.
Where are we with the utilities of the Justice Center? It looks like we spent more than what we budgeted last year.
$28,632 so far.
Okay, should be within reason, huh?
It's actually 10,000 less than the past 2 previous years at this point. Assuming on the same payment time frame and we're not behind a month or whatever.
Comfortable with repair and maintenance vehicles?
Yes.
Looks like you're needing 15,000 in public safety.
The increases for the operations and maintenance for all of the buildings are for the janitorial contract. We renew and we sign a new contract January 1st with a new company. I would like to increase the days. Instead of 2 days a week, I would love to increase them to 3 days a week, just so there's more of a status quo. It's not us trying to keep up on the bathrooms or us trying to keep up on things that are getting missed by the janitorial company. If we have 3 days a week, a lot more stuff can get done by the janitorial company instead of trying to have my team do it. And that is for all of them: the courthouse, the courthouse, the public safety building, the annex, corrections, and the Justice Center would all have go up to a 3-day increase.
I guess you don't have
Including Boeing, the 502 Boeing, I'm sorry.
if you've hired a contractor and they aren't getting their work done, do you need to find a different contractor? Or?
Well, that's what we're doing. January 1, we're signing with the different janitorial company. We can go either way, continue to have a 2-day a week, or we can move it up to 3 days a week. And so it's been, I believe it's been a 2-day a week contract for the last 6 years. And we've had probably 3 different companies attempting to clean the buildings.
Could there be a split of that instead of a full contract of 3 days a week, maybe 2 days a week like you have now, and the third day they just do bathrooms or some component thereof, or is it all or nothing on the 2 to 3 days?
No, I believe that something could be negotiated, obviously, but it's if they're going to be here to do cleaning, just spend an hour in here to do a bathroom or 2 hours in here to do all of the bathrooms. It'd be nice to have them in here for maybe 8 hours to do, the dusting, the vacuuming, cleaning the floors, mopping, and everything else that really needs to get done because it's just been neglected for a really long time.
So you would think you would need 3 days every week, or?
I would prefer to have 3 days every week. It's Monday through Friday. It's just nonstop with everybody using everything. So it's not like one section doesn't get used of the buildings. Everything gets used. So it would just be a lot easier on us trying to get stuff done earlier in the morning, changing lights, even spot cleaning carpets and stuff in the morning where, oh, somebody spilled some coffee, then it usually takes us, okay, we have to stop whatever we're doing and clean up that stuff. Well, if we're already cleaning in the morning and then we have to wait another hour or hour and a half to get on top of something that's happened, it's already stained, it's already ripped into the carpet, whatever that is, it just takes more time out of our day to do all of the cleaning in the morning, and just to have it down to 3 days a week would just be a great relief on the small team that I already have, so.
And the bottom 4 items you've got here are just non-baseline, you call them.
Those are items that are over $5,000, and those would be listed as the capital, I believe.
They're not, each one is, I mean, it's like, what the first one is light bulbs or whatever, so each light bulb is less than, so it's not really capital. So we did it like, we moved it to a non-baseline, like a repairs and maintenance type line, but it's not capital, but similar to capital.
The last three courthouse parking lot?
These last 4.
And I think we're thinking those are one-time expenditures too, that's why I wrote non-baseline
Right,
for next year.
correct, those are one-time expenditures.
It's similar to what we've classified as capital in the past, but since really they're not technically capitals, we've moved them to a different line and just listed as non-baseline so that it doesn't carry forward each year. It's an accounting thing. Nobody really cares about other than us. So that first one, Justice Center parking lot to LED. Actually, the first couple are changing things to LED lights.
I don't know if you've ever been here at night. Those amber sodium lights are a little dim.
Yeah.
So we need to change them to LED, similar to what we did change the ones on the dome to LED, and you can, if you stand across the street, you can really tell the difference what's LED and what's just a standard light bulb. And
most of the cities are changing all their street lights to LED.
Yeah. I'm hoping that what happens is we start to change out the lights and they don't need to change all of them out. So we have the $22,000 as a base, and if they change out 6 of the lights instead of 12 of the lights, and it gives us a better, then I'll just tell them to kind of hold off on doing the rest of them. We just have to see what it would look like with half of them done and not the other half. But the Justice Center really, really needs to.
The third years.
Yeah.
Split it out.
New windows at the annex building. They currently have sealed windows. They should open on the bottom, and they don't. And they don't have any screens or anything on them. So we just would prefer to have new windows in there and kind of get some fresh air. And there's single pane windows.
Complete annex or health district or?
It would be it would be a portion of the health department. There's probably 3 or 4 on the back. The seals are broken off. But it'd be a majority of it'd be all of the WSU building.
Jennifer, you may have said something before. I know you mentioned it in the stuff you submitted before. The LED lights, do you have any idea what kind of a rebate potentially there is on that?
I do not. There is a possible. It says there is a possible rebate of $220 per light times 10 is $2,200. So it would probably earmark it around $20,000.
Cover that sheet.
And then there's the full restoration of the stucco, which is up on the museum building. The winter, this last winter was really hard on the exterior of the building, so the stucco is peeling off. We've had a couple of people look at it and said, that it's not, the damage is not going to be water damage in the inside of the building, but it's just kind of a cosmetic thing where it's just not looking the best that it could.
Where is that?
At the museum, the historic museum. So we just wanted to do the stucco and paint the outside of the building.
That does not include anything with the front steps?
No, that does not.
That's those front steps eventually need to be replaced as well.
Yeah.
Three fund, I bet it
The epoxy that's listed on there would give us a portable water supply, so cleaning any of the sidewalks or the exterior of the building, any of the buildings for that matter, it would be a lot easier. Right now, we've gone through the sprinklers shut off and blown out everything, so we have no exterior water at all. So if we wanted to wash the windows, we wanted to wash the sidewalks, we're not able to do that unless we are able to either rent a epoxy or borrow one from municipal. In the lift, Wave 50 series is a personal lift for changing lights, working in the jail. The majority of the projects that we do, we have to use a lift in the jail. We've already rented one probably about 3 or 4 times this year. And then also to get the cobwebs off the outside of the building. We rented the lift once this year for that. A smaller personal lift, not a boom lift. So, and it's something that can actually get into the doorways of the
scissors,
of the jail.
All right, we'll just have to see where it takes us as we go.
Don't forget flood control.
I'm surprised at the
It's yours, I think.
They used it last year, and I probably won't use it this year.
No, I don't think there's been any recent activity at all.
Page is that?
80?
Say again?
80?
80 spreadsheets.
There has been a little bit of money received in there in recent years, though.
What in there?
From federal flood control leases, 56 to 6,000 a year.
It's just earning interest in it. That's good.
$73 of interest in 2016. We're killing it.
I think in the past we used it for like anything related to mitigation.
It used to be under Public Works, but they wanted to get rid of it.
I was curious. I can look into it.
Matt,
Is there any other?
do you have any history on the flood control fund?
What the flood control fund is it's really just it can be, in the past, it's been managed by the county road department, and I'm not sure why, but it was a fund that we talked about that actually could be just, when it's brought in, could be received into the general fund, and the discussion was made of just leaving it where it's at, because then it's traceable and it can be spent for, but the way it's defined is it can be spent on any government undertaking. So the flood control money really is payment in lieu of taxes on those areas that the government acquires for the purposes of flood control. So it's a little bit different than having a flood control area, which is another, in effect, another taxing district. So it's a little bit separate from that. So and based on that, they felt that would be a good fund to put under facilities that could be used for maybe those special type projects that could use that money as it comes in.
So it comes in every year, or is it just a little
Yes.
bit they have there? And
Yes.
never changes?
It's distributed through the Department of Revenue. Very, very similar to some of the other payments in lieu of tax we get, like for grazing taxes, the grazing fees and stuff like that. Very similar.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for me?
I think so. Anybody? Thanks, Jennifer.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
We'll recess until morning.
Experience,
Just say yes.